Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 4 of Microsoft Ignite. You've made it this far. I'm assured that today is Thursday, so that's what I've been told at least. Welcome to this morning's session. This is BRK 3236, Visual Designer in Xamarin Forms. Everybody's awake, so nobody left. That means everybody's still awake this morning. So this is actually multi-geo capabilities in SharePoint and OneDrive for Business. And this is actually going to be an exciting session chock full of demonstrations. So we're not going to inundate you with as many slides as you'd like to see. We're actually going to show you a lot of the technology and how it works. I'm Bill Baer. I'm a SharePoint product manager in our SharePoint product group in Redmond. I focus on a couple of areas of the product: server, hybrid, migration, security, compliance, administration, and sometimes I do extensibility. So there's a little bit that I do around SharePoint on a day-to-day basis. And joining me today is...
Hello, folks. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, that's the good energy. This is, I'm Sesha Mani. I'm a principal program manager in Office 365, specifically on SharePoint and OneDrive for Business. I've been working on this product for almost 5 years now, so very well grounded with that technology, and very happy and excited to be here on this moment to actually share with you more details on multi-geo capabilities. And before I hand it over to Bill, you guys have seen us wearing these glasses. We might be wondering what are these guys up to? Well, we do have this swag for you as well. The only requirement is stay here, ask the question towards the end of the session. Whoever asks the question will get one. Stay simple, yeah? All right. With that, let me turn it over to Bill, and I will come back again. Go ahead.
Great.
Bill.
Thanks, Sesha. So let's talk about today's agenda. The couple of things that we're going to talk about. First, Office 365 multi-geo. What is it, and why should you care? Then we're going to talk about OneDrive multi-geo. We'll talk about how you can unlock your global rollouts of OneDrive in the cloud via our multi-geo capabilities, and really giving you the ability to empower your satellite users while at the same time meeting your data residency and sovereignty needs. And then we're also going to talk about something that you probably haven't heard about yet, is SharePoint Online multi-geo. So over the past several months, we've shared a little bit of information at a time, trickling out more and more details about our plans for supporting multi-geo scenarios with OneDrive for Business. And today, not only are we going to do that, but we're also going to share with you how we plan to accommodate the SharePoint Online, or the team collaboration scenario. And then lastly, in order to get your sunglasses, we're going to do questions and answers. And it can't be which day is it. So, what is Office 365 multi-geo? Well, the definition of Office 365 multi-geo is really simple, and we'll try to keep it that way throughout the course of this conversation. It basically enables a single Office 365 tenant to span multiple regions or countries. That's it. At the end of the day, it's a single tenant spanning multiple regions or countries. And we're not going to complicate the definition more than that. So what does it look like? So assume a typical organization, Contoso.com. Contoso.com is headquartered in North America. That's where their users reside, and that's where the bulk of their business transpires. So Contoso, located in North America, decides that they have a satellite location now in Europe. Perhaps they're working with suppliers, perhaps they're working with partners, or perhaps their business has grown into Europe as a geographical location. And then beyond that, they've also decided to open an office in Australia. The challenge becomes, is a single tenant, you have users accessing all of the data in a traditional scenario through the North American data center. With Office 365 and multi-geo, we enable you to take advantage of having a globally diverse organization while still meeting the data sensitivity or the data sovereignty and residency needs of each independent geo. So what do we do with multi-geo from a resources perspective? Well, there's two resources. There's user-attached resources and there's shared resources. User-attached resources have one-to-one affinity. So a user has affinity to a mailbox, a user has affinity to OneDrive for Business. And the way that that works is you specify your geographic user objects in Azure Active Directory. And then SharePoint Online, the other scenario that we'll cover today, is a shared resources scenario. There's the collaborative scenarios through team collaboration, SharePoint Online team sites, and then we also have the Office 365 group resources at rest, which is shared mailboxes and team sites. And if you think about what groups represent, they're largely an AD construct, not necessarily an application unto itself. So today we're going to talk about multi-geo. Let's talk about the available geos and services in multi-geo. So from a global geos perspective, we have Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, Africa. We also have North America, Australia, Canada, India, and South Korea, both of which come with some special considerations you'll see at the bottom right-hand side of the slide, Japan, and the United Kingdom. And then to be launched, France. And then for available services, we have Exchange Online, which is in preview, OneDrive for Business, which is also in preview, and SharePoint Online, which is in development. At the end of the session, we're going to give you some links about how you can get started with the previews of these two services, both OneDrive for Business as well as SharePoint Online. So what's the business driver for the multi-geo scenario? Well, one, since 2016, over 100 new data security and privacy laws have been passed around the world. And that's increasing at an exponential rate. Now, those laws differ under a variety of different circumstances. Data residency to some organizations means the data has to reside in their home geo, however, the runtime can reside anywhere. So a great example of which is the data could have to reside in Europe by law, however, the runtime could exist in Russia. So multi-geo scenarios really help you figure out how best to accommodate these ever-changing compliance requirements and regulations that we see today. And also in a post-safe harbor era, we're seeing more and more of these laws being created. And as I said, well over 100 in the last 2 years alone. And lastly, there is no United Nations of data. So everybody has their own unique sovereignty and data residency requirements. So data residency is all about preference. It's all about where the data at rest is stored to fulfill your internal or external commitments. And we're largely talking about data, and at the same time, we're talking about runtime. So you have a number of different ways that you can take advantage of capabilities that we deliver in Office 365 to meet sovereignty and residency requirements. What multi-geo is not, to be very clear at the beginning of this session, is it's not designed to address your performance needs or address challenges that you may have experienced in latency. So the first question we typically get, because many of you have probably been with the SharePoint family for some time, which means at some point in time you had on-premises installations of SharePoint, and it was very common to deploy these on-prem instances closer to the user base that was attached to those to meet those latency and performance requirements. Multi-geo is not about that scenario. Multi-geo is purely about the data residency and sovereignty needs of an organization and how we can help you best fulfill those in today's complex environments. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Sesha to walk us through the OneDrive multi-geo scenario, talk a little bit about it, and demonstrate some of its capabilities.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Bill. So I wanted to first start off with, this is a fairly complex engineering problem, as you probably have already internalized. And I wanted to first take a minute to thank my engineering team, who have done a fabulous job. It's a long journey we went through to actually get here, to be able to show you all these demos. So if you don't mind, let's give applause for our engineering team, who actually have done a good job here. So with that, let me start with OneDrive for Business multi-geo, and then I'm going to show a lot of demos and also touch bases on SharePoint multi-geo as well a little bit. So what is OneDrive for Business multi-geo? As Bill was pointing out, it is about a single tenant spanning multiple locations. As you see in this picture, I have a Contoso Energy Corporation tenant, which has North America as a central location, and then Europe as a satellite location, or maybe even Australia as a satellite location as well. Those satellite locations, like Europe and Australia, with the OneDrive multi-geo, you will be able to have OneDrive capabilities in those locations. In other words, you can associate a user as a European user or an Australian user, And when that user show up to your tenancy, they will get OneDrive provisioned in the corresponding geo itself. So that is OneDrive for Business multi-geo. We are proud to announce OneDrive for multi-geo is preview, selective preview right now, and the general availability we plan to have in H1 of calendar 18. So this is important journey for us, like I said earlier, and it's a lot more thought went into it. In order to participate in the preview, aka.ms/OneDrive multi-geo, check out that link there, and it has more information, and also reach out to your account team, and they will be able to help you out with as well. Now let's quickly show you what is OneDrive for Business multi-geo admin experience will look like. It will give you a view right there. So as you can see, here is the sharing policy experience for our admin center in OneDrive. And on the top right, you can see that it actually has multiple locations. It shows you for a given location, what is the sharing policy. In this case, North America is the selected geolocation. It shows you the sharing policy for that. And if you wanted to see the policies and manage for a European location or Australian location, you can select that geolocation from the drop-down, and it will redirect you to that particular settings, and you can manage them there. So in other words, each geo will have its own admin center, so you have the flexibility of managing these configurations on a per geo basis. The second important point is we always ask the question, how do I manage the user licenses now? Do I have to go to each geolocation admin center to assign them an E3 or E5 license or OneDrive for Business license? No. The user licenses management and also the user password policy management, which is all primarily at the enterprise-wide, because you want to have an enterprise-wide password policy or authentication policies whatsoever. So those you can manage in the global Office 365 portal center itself. So it's Office 365 portal center. You will see, I'm going to show you a demo where all the users from across your geos, you can choose to assign, reset their passwords or assign different licenses and so on. Lastly, the security and compliance center. This is where you manage the policies such as data loss prevention policies, seeing the audit activities and so on. That is also in a single global security and compliance center. That means, for example, you want to see the activities that are happening in your geos, in Europe as well as Australia, in North America. You just go to your security and compliance center. As long as you have the permission as a compliance officer to see those audit logs, you will see them in a single unified fashion, those activities. Okay? Now, before I go any further, I thought it feels like a science fiction, like you guys are saying a single tenant spanning multiple geos seems like a complicated thing to actually go and provision this. So I thought I'll start with the teaser of how easy it is to actually get a satellite location added to the tenant itself. So now as I showed you, this tenant is already having North America, Australia, EMEA, and Japan. And I'm going to actually add a live demo, which is to add another satellite geo. Okay, so I need your help. So we have two choices. You can choose either Canada or Great Britain. So give me a minute. Okay, so Canada, please raise your hands if you want me to go and show the Canada. Okay, Great Britain. Ooh, oh, wow. Sorry, man. Clearly, there is a big interest there.
Yeah, I don't think we have to go any further.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up my PowerShells here. So let me go ahead and enable or open up these specific PowerShells that I need. And as you know, in order to connect to my global admin centers, I need to present my Azure Active Directory global admin credentials. So let me go ahead and type that in. Okay, here we go. So in order to add a satellite geo, you have to be a global admin in order to add it to the tenant, because this is action that you are taking at the global tenant level. Also, as you can see, this is the Azure Active Directory PowerShell that is available. Once your tenant has been onboarded to multinational capabilities, you will be able to run this PowerShell. And until then, it will say this PowerShell is not yet available for you. Okay? Now, how do I add an additional location? So here, I actually started with Canada, by the way, because I thought that's going to win. But here I'm going to change it to say GBR, Great Britain. And I'm going to show you like each parameters that you have here. So for example, I have a set company allowed data location. For the first parameter you see is the service type. So as you know, Office 365 has many services, SharePoint, Exchange, Skype for Business, and so on. what you are saying here is I want to extend the SharePoint service to an additional geolocation. That's what this parameter indicates. If you're going to extend Exchange, you will say Exchange. If you want to extend Skype for Business, you will say Skype for Business. Okay? The next one is the location, which location you want to extend to. So this is where the list of geos that Bill showed you earlier, you have to pick from one of those. And we have a predefined template, the 3-letter acronyms, that is super, super important. Because everybody has a different way of annotating their country. So we decided let's have a supported template. So it has a 3-letter acronym. So for Great Britain, it is GBR. The last one you see is the initial domain parameter, which is actually nothing but what is the satellite geo's URL is going to look like. As I said, each geo will have its own URL. So you need to specify what's the URL namespace you like for that geo. In this case, for Great Britain, I'm saying Contoso demos x GBR. And what it shows me is it's a Contoso demo is the company name. And then we recommend having the prefix of the actual geolocation. Why? Because that way, if you look at any resource at any given point of time, either as a user, as an admin, or as a compliance officer, doesn't matter, you know where the data sits, right? So that's super important. If you don't have that acronym, it's hard to know where the data is actually, at least from a flexibility point of view, it's much easier to have that experience right there. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter now, and this is pretty much it. So you're now actually enabling one PowerShell, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. And what it's going to do is it's going to kick off the process behind the scene to now add this additional satellite location in the Great Britain data center and attach that form into my tenant, Contoso demo tenant, and start synchronizing the identities to that particular location so that that location will become live and I can start telling my users to start using that location. Okay? Okay, so I'll take one question, but I would suggest stay with the question in the last session. Go ahead.
So you did this because you've added a satellite really easily.
Yeah.
How have you done the first one? Can I do that in PowerShell?
Yes, you can do the first one in the PowerShell. In order to enable the very first one, there is an additional commandlet which says set company as a multinational company, and then you run the exact same PowerShell commandlet with the first location you want.
So I could do that in a trial tenant, test customers with it.
No, like I said, preview programs. You need to reach out to the preview program, and we will whitelist your tenant, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Thanks, Bill. Okay, so it's going to take a few minutes, as you can imagine, to get this satellite geos set up. So in the meantime, let's go ahead to the rest of the sessions now. So it's switched. Okay, thank you. Okay, so before I go further, so I showed you the teaser on how it is. Also, we have already early adapter customers who have been onboarded to preview program and have been using this tech the way they onboarded to the system as well. So instead of me telling you what the key value props are and what the thoughts you should be having to think about multi-geo, we thought it's actually opt to have a customer actually come and share their experience with you. With that, let me introduce Steve from Johnson Controls. Please welcome.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Everybody hear me? How you
Thanks,
doing?
Steve.
How you doing, Bill?
So perhaps maybe, first of all, thanks for sharing your time to
Sure,
be
no
here.
problem. I just want the sunglasses.
So why don't we start? Why don't you tell us about what is Johnson Controls so that people know?
Yeah, so Johnson Controls is a global multi-industrial organization, about $38 billion. We have 120,000 employees worldwide in 150 different countries and 2,000 different locations. So we are definitely multinational and meet the criteria.
Okay.
So.
Tell us about what's the driving factor for you to consider the multi-geo deployment? What was the main business driving factor?
It was all the things that you already talked about, the data residency, the requirements for things like GDPR and other requirements, just to try to get in front of that and knowing that we already deal with some of those things today. And so that was the real driver in helping our business, because that's what we as IT are supposed to do, is enable the business. And so then not to have to think about all these different regulations and where we're going to put our data, and do we have to spin up another server in a specific location to meet the requirements. If we can have our O365 tenant and applications meet those requirements without the users having to think about it, it's a wonderful thing.
Great. In terms of, you mentioned like this being a single tenant, being able to span across, seems like one of the main criteria for you to choose Office 365 Multi-Geo. Is that a
Yeah,
fair
that's a great thing. It just helps with the management of it for one,
Yeah.
and the ease of that, as well as not having to spin up another separate tenant and have the synchronization with the Active Directory and management of users and licenses and all those sorts of things. It makes it a lot easier. Right now we started with North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. That's kind of our test cases.
And how was the onboarding experience so far with adding these two other satellite locations?
It was as easy as what
What I just showed?
Sasha just did. A couple PowerShell scripts, and we were up and running. I think we waited a little over 24 hours for the synchronization to happen, and after that, it was up and running. So it was very simple.
Okay. Maybe also share with us some of the challenges that you think you will expect to have, because it's a journey, right, that you're taking for the next couple of years. What do you expect to see as upcoming business process challenges that you may have to do? It's a new thing for users too, so.
Right. So some of the things that you see just in the UI is around when they go to like the search screen and those sorts of things. You'll have to search in OneDrive, which is where we're starting. You want to search for a user, you have to specify which region you want to search for and select that from the enterprise search as far as searching for users and their profiles. So that's really the only impact that I've really seen as far as the end user for the most part.
Okay.
And so that's just something, I think it's more around the change management, which there shouldn't be a huge amount because a lot of it's on the back end.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing on the change management is taking the time to make sure that the users understand you don't have to think about it anymore.
Okay.
That you don't have to go out and spin up a server and spend more money or go out and try to do some black ops thing and
Was that your
engage with
strategy?
bots or something like that.
Was that your strategy in the past, to spin up a server in each?
Yeah, that was.
Location?
It was either that or it's the arduous activity of trying to get European worker councils to approve. You don't have to have the data specifically all the time in region as long as you can document the process, but that is a very long and sometimes expensive process.
To
So,
do. Yeah. Great. Okay. And one last question. So, where do you take this further in the next 1 to 3 years? This whole journey. Like, for example, are there additional geos you are planning to add? You're looking at adding as well.
well, definitely. Being in 150 different countries,
Yeah.
we definitely plan on probably adding all of them. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So, but the other thing, and the second part of this talk on the SharePoint side is where I see that really being powerful, because the OneDrive's nice, and as far as our individual users engaging to maybe external customers as we open up for sharing external, those sorts of things. But getting it on the SharePoint side where you have a collaboration group,
Right.
and you can actually store the data in a project site specific to a project or an application that we might have for the business is I think where the real power will come from. So
Definitely we are.
and then Exchange and Skype as
Exchange,
well.
Skype,
We're
right.
running all those things as well. So
Yeah, as you know, we are actually working on it, so we'll have it for you for sure, soon as well.
I'm sure you will. You
All
guys
right.
you guys have been great to work with. The team, the TAP team has been great. They had things very well documented, and we had lots of meetings, and they were very helpful. So I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your partnership
Thank you.
too. So
Talking to you.
thanks,
Thank
Steve,
you.
for
Thanks,
taking
Bill.
the time.
So, Sasha, you asked half a dozen questions. It doesn't mean that you get 6 pairs of glasses.
All right, so let's just to recap some of the value props that Steve pointed out. Definitely, data residency is the first and foremost business driver, and it helps you unblock your global workforce to get into collaboration experience, more modern, seamless collaboration experience there. And also, more importantly, this is the very important point I want to stress. It's a single tenant at the end of the day, which is having multiple data locations. And we believe that's a fundamental architecture that we think it will actually help in the future in many, many different scenarios too. And that's why we started in that journey. And more importantly, to get a cohesive view of your organization goes back to like one enterprise. You want to get that experience to your end users. And at the same time, behind the scene, as an IT admin or a compliance officer, able to meet your data residency needs as well. And then last, there are several high-value features. And to Steve's feedback, we actually have a good news for the search experience as well. So let's actually get into the more demos on this regard. So I'm going to talk about 3 main areas in this regard. The first one is about admin experience, and then end-user experiences, and then some of the shared services experiences. So first thing I wanted to show you is here is the OneDrive admin center, where I can now see there are multiple locations that are attached to my tenancy. And I'm in the North America. That's the setting I'm managing right now. And if I go, for example, North America settings, as you see here, take simple example, sharing policies. So in North America geo, I have the external sharing policies allowed, because you may have a need to have different sharing policies per geo, right? For North America, you may want to allow them, whereas in Europe, you may want to restrict it, or even restrict it to a specific partners itself. So here, I'm going to show you quickly on the European side. As you can see, I have turned off the external sharing. That means for the European OneDrives and sites that are going to be there, the external sharing will be completely blocked. So nobody can share from the European content itself. So it kind of shows you the flexibility of you can have per geo different policies that are tailored based on your local regulatory needs, or even local IT policies that you may have it differently. You may ask, what if I want to have a same policy across the board? Sure. We actually have PowerShells. You can apply the same policies, push them out in all the geolocations as well. But just keep in mind, each of the main principle is data residency. And that's why we believe having the flexibility of different policies per geo is super important to start with. So I'm going to switch gears now as an end user. So here I am, Melissa, European user. And the way you can see she is an European user, first of all, for the demo purposes, I have shown her display name having the Europe itself. But more importantly, you can see the URL for her OneDrive, which is right here, contoso-my.sharepoint.com. So what it shows you that particular OneDrive data is actually hosted off of the European data center. Now, how can I actually ensure it is actually there in Europe? She's not able to go and get OneDrives in other places. So let's do a quick experiment here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this host name. As people who are working on OneDrives, you know the host names itself is enough to get you to the location. So I'm going to copy that and then put it in the new window. And instead of EUR, I'm just going to remove it. And that means I'm actually hitting the North America central location URL. And what just happened? The user got redirected to this home location. So in other words, doesn't matter where the user is getting into. Maybe just by mistake they went into the wrong location, or they purposely went and tried to get a OneDrive in another geolocation. No matter what, the intelligence service behind the scene knows that this user is tagged for Europe, and that's the only one OneDrive that she can have in the European location. And she will be redirected back to that particular home geolocation. Make sense? OK. So next up is, let's take one step further. Let's say she wanted to share a document with her colleagues across the geo. So I'm going to pick up a document and click Share. And here I'm sharing with folks in Contoso Energy. I'm going to actually make it as specific people that I wanted to share with. So I have here Adam, who is an Australian colleague that I wanted to share with, as well as I wanted to share with Bill, who's in US location. And I wanted to also, let's say, share with somebody, like say Seisha, who's also a US user in this case, right? So in addition, I wanted to share with an external user. Remember, this is an European location OneDrive. So I'm going to type in the external user, Jeffrey, at gmail.com. And look what happens when I go ahead and try to share with that person. Automatically, the policy kicks in. It says, this is European location. You're trying to share a document from a European data center location. Your policy says you're not allowed to share with an external user in that location. So I won't be able to share with that external user right there. If I was in the US OneDrive, did the exact same operation, I will be able to share with them, because the policy in the US is allowed to share with external users. Okay? So that's the sharing simple experience. There's no different here from a single geo tenant. It's exactly the same. The big notice is, I don't know whether you guys noticed it, I was able to share with my colleagues no matter where they are hosted. whether they are in Australia or in Japan or in the future in UK, doesn't matter. This is what we call global people picker. So people picker is actually now globally, you can bring all the users in your organization as a one enterprise experience, and they can go any people picker experience, they will be able to pick the user they want and share with them. So it all goes to the permission that you are allowing them, the users to have on that document itself. Yeah? You guys like it? Yeah? Okay. Don't feel shy to clap, by the way, okay? Because it really helps me and Bill a lot. Yep. Okay, so next up, I showed you to share outside. What if I wanted to see myself? Like, what are the things that are shared with me, right? I'm working in this organization as a global MNC organization. I just want to know what are all the documents that are shared with me. So here I am looking at my shared with me view, and as you can see, I have documents that are modified by myself and also my colleague Jessica. She is actually in US, and also other folks. Let me get this out of the way. Here we go. Yusuf, Jeffrey, and all those different other users. Either they are in US or Europe or Australia, no matter. And also the documents, no matter where they are. So for example, this document right here, if you look at the URL at the bottom, actually let me go ahead and click on it. It's opening up the document for me right away. I'm a European user, but look at the URL. It is actually coming from US OneDrive for Business, from Sesha's US OneDrive for Business itself. And if you just notice, it just single signed me in and gave me access to the document, right? It's because as individual users, you have only one identity for this whole organization. So Melissa has only one identity. As long as Sesha has shared the document with her, given her permission to view the document, and my organization has set up single sign-on, federation sync, and so on. And that's what Steve was pointing out. It's just one time you set up your federated synchronization and the federation setup, you're good to go. You can keep adding additional satellite geos later on, because that one-time setup of your federation is good enough for all your organization. The only requirement is all the geo users, you need to keep them in one tenant, single AAD tenant. That's the only requirement, because that's the only way you're going to get these kind of seamless experiences. Okay. So that's the shared with me experience. Let's take one step further. Let's say what happens if she wants to look at her Delve experience. Many of you know Delve is all about the information fabric. It brings you the signals from across your services, be it Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, or Skype for Business, and things that are trending around me in my global organization. So in a multi-geo tenancy, what is the Delve experience going to look like? So here is the Delve experience. As you can see, Europe user Melissa, I have, actually means refreshes. First of all, you can see from the top of the URL itself, Delve actually has a nice URL, eur.delveoffice.com, that shows you that it is actually served off of European-based Delve services. Second of all, the documents that I'm having access to here, actually some of the documents is from US, like right, the first one you can see at the bottom, the URL, as well as if I scroll down, I will have some documents coming. For example, here, I have a document from Megan Smith's OneDrive that is actually hosted in the European location. You can see the URL at the bottom, contoso eur-my.sharepoint.com. So it gives you the ideas. Doesn't matter where the document lives, doesn't matter which user shared the document, as long as it is relevant for me, that information will get to me. So it's the information is getting to the user. User just has to show up to the Delve profile, Delve dashboard, and they will get the view right there itself. Okay? Not only documents and OneDrive, SharePoint sites, Exchange information. If you are sharing attachment in an Exchange, as you know, those signals are also getting propagated in the Delve. Once you have your multi-geo tenant with both OneDrive, Exchange as well, you will get those signals populated as well. So everything comes together from an end user point of view in a single unified view.
Yep. And the indexes are in each geo as well. So.
That's my search demo. Yes, that's why I'm going to talk about that as well. All right, so that gives you an overview on browser experience. Now you may wonder, what's the experience on the client? Right? Does the user have to know the URL of the specific geolocation to go and access the information? No, all they have to know is the email address. As you know, if you go and open up your mobile client or Office client, we ask you, what's the email address? And based on that information, we detect which tenant you belong to, and we attach to you. Now here, we went one step further. We also detect which geo you belong to, where is your OneDrive located, and then we connect to that particular geolocation OneDrive itself. So from a user point of view, just type in your email address. The rest will be done behind the scene for the user. So it's more transparent for them in that case. OK. And I think yesterday there were a lot of people asking about GeoMove. The use case is, I have this user who's using OneDrive in the European location. What if her role changes? She's promoted, and now she's moving to a different geolocation. Now, in this one I showed you, each geo has a unique URL. Well, first of all, do we have the capability of moving the user from one geo to the other geo? This is definitely a feedback we got from the early adapter customers already, that we do want that capability because people do change roles in the organization. People do change their location. They relocate to the new location. So we thought about it, and we are happy to announce that we will support OneDrive for Business Geo Move as well for the users. Yeah? All right, let me show you. Thank you. Yes. So let me first show you what that looks like. So I'm going to now switch to a different user. Here I'm logged in as the Jessica user, as you can see at the top right. She is an US user. So currently her OneDrive is located in the US location. And she has the OneDrive web experience, as well as the OneNote. She has a document opened up, and it is connected to her OneDrive as well. And as you can see in the URL at the top, it is the US location URL. So that's where her OneDrive is currently located. Okay. Now the admin, Seisha, wants to move her into the European location. Now in this case, typically I send out a mail to Jessica saying, by the way, thanks, congratulations on your promotion. You are being moved to the European location, and we're going to initiate the move for you. The first thing that admin would do is actually the concept of preferred data location. Now, this is where we tie which user belongs to which geolocation. So as you can see, set MSOL user, Jessica, preferred data location, I am changing it to European location. Because when she was initially joined the Contoso Energy, she was in US subsidiary. Now she is moving to Europe. So I need to change that data location. This data location property is what used by all the services, Exchange, OneDrive, and Skype for Business. So you set this property as an admin, all the Office 365 services will just honor that property. The mailboxes for that user will actually land in that corresponding geo. OneDrive will land in the corresponding geo. If she's trying to do a Skype for Business meeting, it will be conducted from that particular geolocation. So here I'm changing her location, so that's why I need to set it to European location. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and set that up. PowerShell sometimes doesn't want to work with me. So let me go ahead and open up a new PowerShell. Yep, go ahead, cancel that. I was telling Bill earlier this morning that the PowerShell window, at least for me in this particular one, had some troubles. So let me go, here we go. I'm back now, so let me go ahead and sign back in. Okay. All right, I'm now signed in. So I'm going to go back into the move itself. So like setting the user's PDL, which is in European location. So let me go ahead and kick that off. So now she is set to the European location. The next thing is, this is where the cool thing is going to happen. There is an additional PowerShell in the SharePoint administration module that you can trigger to actually move the content from one geolocation to the other geolocation. So that's what this particular commandlet is. So I'm going to, I'm going to change that. So here, start SPO user and content move. I'm going to change it to Jessica. And as you can see, it's a very simple commandlet. You just say, start SPO user and content move, which user you want to move, and then what's the destination location you want. So in this case, I want to move her content to European location. All right, so let me go ahead and kick off this. And at this point, all that happens is, behind the scene, there is a job gets created to trigger the move of that OneDrive for Business content to the European location. And as you can imagine, it's going to take some time to move that content, back it up, and then restore it on the other location, and then make it ready for her. During this particular small window, there is going to be a read-only window for the user, because we don't want to keep changes happening on this OneDrive while this is happening. This is why initially, I actually sent her a mail saying, hey, I'm moving you, so make sure you are not leaving your documents behind. And typically, these operations, you wanted to do it in the maintenance window, either over the weekend or things like that, and then plan accordingly. That means, you may ask, can I schedule this move? Is that your question? No?
Question about the time. Let's say if you want to run the business
Yeah.
half of the terabyte,
Yeah. Sure, sure. So let me answer that. It's a secondary. First question is, can I actually schedule this? Absolutely. There's actually additional parameters that I have in this particular PowerShell, which allows you to schedule what is your preferred begin date is versus what is your preferred end date is. Now, note that we say it's preferred mainly because there are so many other jobs in the queue as well. But it gives you a way of giving us a hint on when do you want to finish this operations job itself. Second question, you asked what's the size of the data and does it have a limit in there? It does have a small impact on how long it takes to move the content. However, we actually first move the metadata of the files. And because of that, we will be able to restore the access to the document to the user immediately. As soon as the metadata is there, we can actually allow them to access it. While in the back end, as you know, we use Azure Blob to actually store our physical content itself. That asynchronously will kick in and move the actual content over to the other location. Our first and foremost principle is restore access to the user as quickly as possible so that it is all there on in the destination location. So in other words, the read-only window that I mentioned, we want to keep it as small as possible. That's our goal here. OK, so I'm going to go ahead and see what the experience looks like for the Jessica user right here. So here I'm actually logged in. As you saw, I haven't even done anything. It's all in the browser right now. And let me go ahead and click refresh. Now this is all in preview right now, so just sometimes it will take some while to bring it up. Here we go. Woohoo! Now actually I am in EUR. You guys notice the URL right there? So the content is actually now got moved out from the US location to the EUR location. So physically the content is located, the metadata and the access to the user is now restored. So it probably takes, depending on the content, depending on which location you are moving, somewhere between 10 minutes to 2 or 3 hours read-only window. And then during only that time, the user probably will have read-only access to the content. However, she can continue to use offline documents during that time. For example, sync client, that's where that comes in handy, right? You synchronize your documents to the needed documents that you're working on. During this read-only window, it will be available for you as an offline. Now, the next question is, what happens in the sync line? Do I have to go and restart or reconnect to it? We actually step one step further. It will transparently reconnect to the new location. So the user doesn't have to take any actions. So you are pointing to US. Now it will, behind the scene, it get the signal from the server saying this user is being moved. And at the end of the move, it will get the signal, you're done. It will automatically reconnect to the new location. And remember, this user has only one identity in the cloud. Because of that, we are able to silently sign in him into the new location, and she is now connected to the new location itself. The other important point, permissions. What happens in this case where Jessica has shared this document while she wasn't working in the US with Bill or with Seisha and other folks? What happens to those users? What happens to those URLs, right? These are all pointing to the old location. What happens to those URLs, right? All right, let me actually show you that before I explain what that happens. So here I am as the user, Seisha user. I'm going to get to my mail. Let me go ahead and refresh the mail. And Jessica happens to have shared a document with me, as you can see up here, in the morning, basically. Here I actually have, you can see in the link at the bottom, pointing to the US location. Yeah? OK. So let me go ahead and click on this document link. And you will just notice now, I'm still having access to the document, and I'm able to access to it right away. And if you guys notice at the top, it actually is pointing to the European location. I think it requires applause. And people who, like Bill said earlier, people who worked on SharePoint, they know very well. When the URL changes, a lot more things are broken and things like that. Now, in this particular multi-geo scenario, we've thought through and addressed some of those aspects, like the redirect that you just noticed. So if you have an old URL link that is pointing to the old location, as long as the browser show up to the, user show up to the browser, they will get redirected because the intelligence is there in the service that this document actually got moved. So that's why we are able to bring them to that. The next step I told you is the OneNote sync. That is also will continue to work. Permissions remain intact because Sesha is only one identity in the whole single tenant. So he will continue to have the same access to the document itself. Same as any other users that Jessica has shared with. Okay, you guys like it? All right. Okay, I'm going to hold the questions if you don't mind, because I totally get that there will be a lot of questions, but I do want to cover the rest of the sessions. And like I said, we do have sunglasses, so we wanted to make sure that we give out all those things as well. So let me switch to the slides. So with that, I actually showed you the admin experience for OneDrive for Admin Center, as well as the end user experience, where I started off as a Melissa user with the OneDrive sharing experience, shared with me experience, and the Delve experience, how it looks like. In addition, we also showed you the move as well, where the move is successful and the user Jessica is actually got moved into the new location, and the permissions, access to those documents remain intact as well after the move happened. Okay? So that's quite a lot for the whole OneDrive for Business multi-geo itself. Now I do have a couple of screenshots, so real quick just to walk through. This is Melissa's OneDrive, where we just showed you her OneDrive located in the Europe, and she's able to connect with the sync client. Now I'm going to switch gears to talk about some of the admin experiences, which I will get to it in a minute, about the unified auditing activities as well. And then geo moves, as I showed you, Jessica was in the North America. I was able to move her to the European geolocation, and now she is part of the wind energy projects in the European geolocation. Great. So we got to see all of these things for the OneDrive. Let's switch gears to SharePoint. How many of you want to hear about SharePoint multi-geo? Woohoo! All right. Okay, great. I know, like Steve pointed out, Steve also is very interested in seeing what's coming up in SharePoint multi-geo. Now, this is in development, so there is a lot more things. We will show you, I would say, a sneak peek of it, but as we progress further, we'll keep you up to date as we progress on this journey. First thing, what is SharePoint multi-geo? I think by now you'd have got it by what it is, because I told you earlier what is OneDrive multi-geos. Here, all we're saying is on the satellite location, you will now get SharePoint team sites and additional functionalities as well. Now, why it is coming in the second kind of phase? Mainly, as you know, SharePoint has a lot of underpinning services, like search experience, like taxonomy experience, right? So all those other underpinning services, we need to have a multi-geo story before we can say SharePoint is multi-geo ready now, right? So that's the reason why it is taking longer than what it is in the OneDrive for multi-geo. Now let me quickly show you the admin experience. For example, this is the new SharePoint admin UX. How many of you have seen it? You guys are liking that new UX? Yeah? So we have added the geolocation tab right in the admin UX itself. And here you can see the locations are North America, EMEA, and Australia. So right there, you will see what are all the locations my SharePoint sites is located in my multi-geo tenancy. And you can click on the specific geo, and it will take you to the corresponding SharePoint admin center. So much like OneDrive admin center, we will have each geo SharePoint admin center as well. So if you want to, as an admin, create a team site for, let's say, in Europe, you just navigate to the European SharePoint admin center, create a site there, and it will automatically get provisioned in the European geo itself. Okay? So you just have to be in the right geolocation to perform the corresponding admin activities. All right. The last one is sharing policies I talked about, which is like in OneDrive, when you can configure each specific sharing policies that are applicable for the SharePoint sites for that particular geolocation itself. The next one I have is the site collections policies around it, like compliance policies like DLP. So you have a single security and compliance center, and you can create data loss prevention policies that are tailored for a given SharePoint site collection. So for example, let's say I have a wind energy site collection in the European location, and there is a European Privacy Act or Financial Act policy, data loss prevention policy that I want to apply for that particular site collection. So you can go to the compliance center. I'll show you in a minute. You can go to the compliance center and create a policy and address that policy only for that site collection. So what happens behind the scene is that policies get published into all the geos, but only that particular geo will pick up the policy and honor the policy for that particular geolocation. Okay? So that is the DLP policies that you can tailor them for geos. The last one I would say is the e-discovery manager. This is especially for compliance-heavy companies. It's a super important topic. What we are thinking about here is ability to have per geo e-discovery manager. For example, let's say Bill is the e-discovery manager for Europe and Sesha is the e-discovery manager for North America. What does it mean? It means that Sesha can do e-discovery only within the North America OneDrives and SharePoint sites. If he goes and create a case, e-discovery case, and trying to pull up the search results and so on, he will be able to do only within the North America geo. If Bill is going to do the exact same thing, even if he tries to go into other geos, he will be able to get only the European OneDrives and sites-related e-discovery. So that's what we mean by e-discovery manager per geo that you will be able to configure on top of that. The last one is Steve's favorite, search experience. So we are looking at providing a single aggregated results across your multi-geo search. What I mean by that is, as a user, you don't have to know which geo that I need to go and search for a content. Because remember, it goes back to our initial principle where from an end user point of view, we don't want to educate them about geos, they have to select geos or things like that. Behind the scene, it will take care of the necessary things. So it will bring the results from each of the geo index. So each geo has its own search index. So North America, SharePoint sites, and OneDrive has its index. European SharePoint sites and OneDrive has its own index. So index are distributed. They follow the content in each of the geos. But from the end user perspective, when they try to do the query, we actually bring those index results and then aggregate them in a single index, in the single relevance, and then show them the results to that experience. As you can imagine, it's a fairly complex engineering problem to go and solve. But we are definitely on the journey to go and solve this problem for you. Now with that, I'm going to actually, it's a very deep architecture slide here. And the main thing I want to point out in this case is the services that you are all very familiar with for SharePoint. For example, search, as I mentioned, the index is per geo. I see a lot of cameras up already. It's awesome. The search itself is per index, and we do the unified search across these distributed indexes. The second one is the profile service, which is your favorite UPA. Profile service will have, each geo will have its own profile service too, UPA. However, if you are a European user, your profile properties, the custom properties that you have, or about me, or skill sets, those kind of properties, are mastered only in the European UPA database. We do have a federated layer capability where you can call into the APIs and say, give me Melissa's profile, and that layer will take care of the abstraction for you and give you back the Melissa's full profile set, regardless of where she is located. Okay? I know it's a little bit deeper topic. I just want to give you a high-level 10,000-foot view. Of course, as we progress in our journey, we'll share more on this regard. So that's about the profile services. The last one, which is an important one, is also taxonomy services. This is where the enterprise-managed metadata comes into play. Typically, in on-premises, what you have done is you might have a services form where you manage your taxonomy and probably have written customizations to replicate that taxonomy terms to all the other forms, so the consuming forms can pick up those taxonomy. We have good news for you. In multi-geo, you can continue to have a centralized taxonomy in your default location. So this is where the default location concept becomes super important. In the default central location, you can manage your taxonomy. Behind the scene, multi-geo taxonomy will take care of replicating that to all the other satellites for you. Okay. So that's the lot for SharePoint multi-geo. Now let me get into the few demos on this. Okay, so I'm going to start here as the admin and show you quickly the SharePoint Online Admin Centers. There we go. So here I am in the geolocations tab for the new location. So I have a European location as well as Japan and Australia location. And if I wanted to go to the specific centers, all I have to do is click on those links, and it will take me to the corresponding SharePoint admin center itself. Now, in this case, we are still, as you can imagine, doing more work in the space to add the additional capabilities in the new admin UX. So the creation of a site for a given geo needs to happen in this classic admin center now. So here I am in the classic admin center. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the European location. And as you can see, it's going to single sign me in into the European admin center. And it's showing me data for the Europe location. So if I go ahead and create a site collection, this particular site collection is going to reside in the European data centers. So the European is, this particular case is a wind energy-based project. So I'm going to create a windmills site. So I'm going to go ahead and call it windmills. And I'm going to accept the defaults here. I'm going to make Melissa as the owner of that particular site. And then I'm done. Okay? So it's going to create a site collection for me, which will be hosted off of the European data center. As I said, there are aspects of taxonomy. Let me go ahead and show you that real quick while I'm here. In the term store, as you can see, there are taxonomies that are Contoso-wide, like the Contoso taxonomy that you see right here, as well as like solar energy categories of taxonomy, wind energy categories of taxonomy. All those things are actually replicated from the central location to this particular satellite location. That means the site collection I just created, I now have an enterprise-wide taxonomy that I can go and tag them with, right? So it's all available for me right off the bat. Okay, so the next one I wanted to show you is the DLP policy that I talked about, which is per geo. So here I am on the Security and Compliance Center. So the site collection that I created is hosted in the European location. And I wanted to apply the European Privacy Act policy for against that particular site collection. So the way I can do that is in this Security and Compliance Center, create a policy, a DLP policy. And as you can see, I have the European Financial Data Policy right here. And that policy itself, I can specifically select a specific site collection, and I can point it to the site collection I just created or any other wind energy site collections. Here is where I would be able to choose a site, and you will just type in the URL for that particular site collection, and it will accept that accept the entry. That means that European Financial Act policy is now applicable for that site collection only, which is hosted in the European location. Okay. The next one I want to quickly show is the auditing activities for the admin. So I told you it's a single tenant that spans across multiple data locations. That means activities that happens across the geos, whether it is in Europe or Australia, doesn't matter. Also, which user is sharing with whom, doesn't matter. All the activities will be shown in a single unified view for you as the admin, and you can see them here. So here I have activities done by Melissa. The Melissa activity happens against her OneDrive, I believe. Yes, her OneDrive right here. And then there is an activity done by Seisha against Melissa's OneDrive. So you get the idea. All the users, doesn't matter where they are, doesn't matter which document they are actually accessing. I might be a US user, I'm accessing a document in Australia, that activity will show up here as well in a single unified view for me. And I can do all sort of filtering here, so I can click on the filter results. If I'm interested in a specific host, then I can type it in Contoso demo, let's say EUR, then it will show me the results only for that experience itself. And if you wanted to do much further advanced analysis, you can export this data off of the audit logs and then do your own analysis offline as well. Okay, so that's for the admin experience. Let's switch gears to the end user. So here I am logged in as the Melissa end user in Europe, and I have a SharePoint home experience, which is multi-geo aware as well. So here I can see the news coming from a US location, which is Solar Energy Symposium, and then also other locations as well. In addition, the sites that I follow, including site in Europe or in North America, show up in my follow list as well. So from an end user point of view, it doesn't matter where the site's located, I will be able to see them all aggregated for me in the SharePoint home experience. Let's take it one step further. I told you the search experience. So here I am going to go ahead and search for the term energy. So as soon as I typed it in, it actually suggested automatically some sites for me. And if you noticed, the sites that is showing me actually are wind energy sites, which is in Europe, and then solar energy sites, which is actually in the US location. So it doesn't matter where the site is located, as long as the user has permissions and it is appropriate for him to suggest to her, it will show up in the list itself. Let me go ahead and press enter here to actually show you the search experience. Now this is where it goes back to Steve's feedback that he gave earlier. We wanted to give a single aggregated results across the content, no matter where the content lives, no matter who shared the content. So here I am. Let me zoom it in. You can see that the first document that I got back is from the European locations. That's the result I got back. The second one is coming from the US, the same thing from the third one. In addition, if I scroll down, I actually have news articles that got published in the US showed up in my search as well, because it's a symposium that is happened to happen this week, so it's the latest news. It showed up in my relevance very high, so it showed up in my list as well. In addition, also, how many of you have configured hybrid search? Okay, so you know how the configuration, you bring in the content from on-prem and you have a single view across on-prem and the cloud. Now in this multi-geo tenancy, you have multiple locations in the cloud, so you will actually get the single view across those search indexes as well. So both your hybrid search and the multi-geo search together, you will have a single aggregated view. Okay? Okay, I think that's pretty much on the search experiences that I wanted to show. And let's switch gears to the slides. Again, as we progress more, we'll share with you more experiences and the demos in the next coming presentations there. So I want to close with some few final thoughts on the roadmap, and then just to recap on what we have seen. So currently, the OneDrive Multi-Geo is in preview, available now. And you can check out aka.ms/OneDrive Multi-Geo or contact your account team to get into the preview program. In the H1 calendar 18, we are planning to get the general availability for OneDrive Multi-Geo. And the asterisk mark simply says that there will be or there could be some criteria associated with it. We will get you the details as we progress on what the aspects around the criteria is. And then also we're still working on the SharePoint Multi-Geo pieces. In the future, its general availability is TBD at this point. But we'll share with you as we get more clarity on the date itself for SharePoint Multi-Geo. With that, I wanted to finish off final slide on the quick summary. So as Bill pointed out in the initial, Office 365 Multi-Geo is about a single tenant spanning across multiple geolocations. And it is available in preview now for both Exchange and OneDrive. The main business driver, we believe, for these scenarios is around data residency, but at the same time, providing a modern productivity experience for your global workforce so that you can unlock your global rollouts into Office 365. And then check out more on the aka.ms/OneDrive Multi-Geo specifically. Okay, thank you very much for folks, and we'll take the Q&A sessions. Please go to the micro. Yes, please, mic, and then ask the questions.
You did not talk about co-edition within a document.
Co-authoring?
For sure, it's cool
Yeah,
to see you.
Yes,
co-authoring.
it works. The co-authoring also will work.
Yes.
We actually, in the interest of time, we didn't. So if you share a document,
not Dublin.
if you share a document with Australian user or European user, then they will be able to come together and co-author with you as well on the
So,
page. If you guys,
At the same time as Redmond.
thanks.
so yeah,
So for latency, it's not going to be a problem for the user.
so I didn't mention it here. The perf, there is a lot of perf improvements we have done, and in fact, there is a session this evening.
Yeah.
Zach, my colleague, is going to present it, where you will see the perf-related improvements we have done there. In fact, as you noticed, I actually accessed Melissa's OneDrive in Europe. I'm in US here. It just went like this, right? So there's a lot of improvements have done in this.
But it's a demo.
What's that?
That's a demo.
No.
so-
The one is actually, this is in production. This particular tenant is in
Okay.
production.
Okay.
The performance improvements that I'm
Okay.
talking about is actually in production too.
And which session is it in the afternoon that talks about the...
I will, offline, I will tell you that. I don't know the top of the head. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Sasha.
So I'll take the question there. Yeah.
Yeah, very easy.
Sure, go ahead.
In the demo you gave about
Samir.
migrating, the demo
Sorry,
you
go
gave
ahead.
about migrating the user from like US to Europe.
Guys, if you don't mind, folks, please, yeah, because I cannot hear the question actually.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll try to speak a little louder. In the demo that you gave on migrating, say, Jessica from Europe to US or
Yes,
whichever
yes,
version,
yeah.
is the data moves with her.
Yes.
Now, for example, I have unique scenario. Maybe it's not unique, but sometimes the data doesn't belong to Jessica; it belongs to the territory.
Okay.
So if she moved from Europe back to U.S.,
Yeah.
I understand migrating her is important from an Active Directory and everything else perspective, and creating new content. Is there an option to keep the content that she created still in the existing territory, or does the data?
Yes, that's a great question. What I showed you is the OneDrive content of the user, right? So typically the OneDrives are attached to the given user itself.
Gotcha.
So that's what I showed you. But if she creates, let's say, a team site that she created, which is a project site that belongs to the organization itself, just because she is moving to Europe, that content is not going to move. That's a separate site collection. She's just the owner of the content, right? After the site is created, she no longer has the ties with that site collection. Because you may change the owner in the future. Somebody else is the owner for the site collection.
So this is just her.
So it's only the OneDrive, my site.
OneDrive, my
Yes,
site thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got it?
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sasha.
I'll take a question there. Yeah.
No, you were adamant about data residency being the business driver and not performance. Why can't we consider performance a secondary benefit?
Performance, why we cannot consider it for performance. So a lot of design choices and principles we have made are based on the data residency as a primary factor. Now, performance is a very interesting and kind of a complex topic, because you might have a performance problem because the customizations you have done in the SharePoint sites, it may be because of that, or external data that you are querying is because of that, or web parts that you have is because of that you have performance problem, right? All this is allowing you to do is keeping the data closer to the user. That's all it's doing. But if you have a performance problem because of customizations, that's not going to go away. So that's why we are being very clear. This is not a
but if we've
default performance
identified
solution.
that it's a remote link, it's a small site somewhere with
Like I
crappy
said,
internet.
you need to, the typical approach is do your due diligence in getting what is the root cause of the performance problem, and then you can actually figure out if it is because of the data is so further out, then it might help you. But don't start with the assumption, I'm just having a performance problem, I'm going to deploy multi-geo,
Right.
it's going to solve it for me. Don't make that assumption.
Okay.
That's what we are saying.
Thanks.
Yeah? Thank you. Okay.
So you mentioned in the first PowerShell commandlet that
Yeah.
so the user's objects will be prepared in the geolocation, the new one. So far as I know, all the user objects are already replicated through the data centers of Microsoft.
Okay.
Is that split it up now, or what does it mean?
So the user objects, so if you have, let's say, on-premises AD, you are synchronizing to
Yes.
Azure AD, you can set this data location property as part of your Azure AD sync itself. So that is, I didn't talk about it, but that's the Azure AD Connect tool. You can actually set the property based on that. Once you set it up in Azure AD, it's a single instance, and it will get synced down to all the geolocations, because we need to give you the people picker experience, all the other experience. So all the user identities will get synchronized down to every individual geos, and that's how you get the experience. But that identities are just caches. The master copy is in the Azure Active Directory itself.
But it has been replicated so far between the data centers already, right?
No, it's coming from Azure AD to that particular data center. Yes, the identities only. It will be replicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And secondly, you showed in the Security Compliance Center
Yes.
that you can define policies based on site collections.
Yep.
Isn't it possible to have this major SharePoint URL of the geolocation?
That's a
instead?
great feedback. Yes, I get that. So that's a great feedback. We haven't gone that far yet to show you. Just select the geo, and this policy is applied to all the sites in that geo itself.
Yes.
But great feedback. We'll take a look into it definitely. Okay. Thank you. Great.
Hi, can you set up the user sync to work in a hybrid scenario, so have some users in one tenant, some in another, some on premises?
When you say user sync, you mean the
user home preferred data location.
no syncing to where though? We are syncing the users to.
No, the preferred data location, so you can have it in multi-geo in different tenants, but could you also have one of those being an on-premises tenant for some users, so that you don't actually want them to have a OneDrive store?
Oh, in the cloud. Yeah. I see. So you're saying on-prem itself is another satellite, and call it some other preferred data location like Contoso on-prem and things like that. That's a great feedback. We have not, that's a good feedback. We'll take it into consideration. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So when you're doing the migration, if the data is corrupted, how do you can you retrieve it from backup, and how long does it stay in like a recycle bin or something?
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, I was very careful, like when you noticed, I mentioned it's a geo move. It's not migration per se, because migration, we define that as it's a bulk activity that you do just once. You migrate from on-prem to the cloud, right? And we have a separate topics and tools for that. So this, what I showed you, is the geo move. It's supposed to be only used for when you are on runtime, when the users are relocating from one geo to the other geo, only then you wanted to do this tech, number one. Number two, as I mentioned, our first principle is to get back access to the users as soon as possible. So that's why we move the metadata first and make sure they get access to it right away. Behind the scene, the Azure Blob move will take somewhere between 40 days to 50 days to get the asynchronous stuff well done. We'll provide you guidance on exactly what that time frame is and what the read-only window is, so you'll have both the information to plan accordingly your projects. Yeah? Okay. I'll take the question, yeah.
How will the development experience will be? Development experience with multi-geo tenant. For example, if I would like to create a OneDrive or provision a OneDrive site for a user, can I do it right now with in a specific geo, or a SharePoint site in specific geo with the REST API, or with client-side libraries?
Client-side, yeah. So this
and also the taxonomy IDs. Each location will have then another ID, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the developer story is actually, Adriana is actually already working on that right now to give you what's the API's landscape will look like. And we actually published our first revision of developer story for multi-geo tenancy. So I would encourage you to connect with her. She can connect you to the article. But it's a starting point, right? We will evolve our story. We first want to get the basics and end user admin experience is done. The next thing is actually to make sure that developer story is there as well. Mm-hmm. So you will be able to say, can I create the OneDrive for Seisha in the Australia location, for example? Yeah. So that's the thing we will be able to say there. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. First, I want to acknowledge I really appreciate all the tremendous work that's gone in there. I think that's
Thank you.
fantastic.
Yeah.
My question is around, I know the focus is SharePoint and OneDrive, but what about the site collections that are created when you do groups and teams? What happens there? Is there going to be an option of self-service where they can choose the
geolocation? So I didn't spend a lot of time today, but groups multi-geo is actually, I would say, part of the SharePoint multi-geo story. Because when you create a group in Office 365, you are actually creating a SharePoint site as well as a mailbox for the group as well. So in this case, in a groups multi-geo, you actually have two scenarios. Either a user is creating a group, or an admin is creating a group. If it is a user, then based on that preferred data location that I showed you, based on that information, we will create the group's resources in the corresponding geo. So let's say in this case, Melissa, she's creating a group. Because she's a European user, the corresponding group's resources will be in that location. Then after that point, there is no more connections. Only the initiator is there. If you are an admin, you will have a capability where I want to create this group, and I know I want to create it in Australia. So you will be able to pick for that particular case. Yeah, that's how the experience will look like.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, good.
So two quick questions. One, when you moved Jessica's OneDrive from one geo to the next, you showed that sharing still worked. I'm curious, though, if the second location did not allow external sharing, which you were showing earlier.
Yes.
Are those permissions invalidated?
Yeah.
I'm hoping yes. The second question really is, I would think any conversation like this would also beg from a customer a conversation about what Microsoft will do legally in scenarios around subpoenas and things along those lines, now that you have customers with data spread throughout. So for example, if the US government issues a subpoena for data that's located in another geography, what we will and won't do, how clear will that guidance be?
So I'll answer the first question. For the second one, I think Paul can talk to you offline. He's our expert on those questions. The first question is, on regards to the policies, the sharing policies, it inherits from that geolocation itself. Once you move the content to the European location, it's going to inherit the policy from Europe. That means if she used to share with external users in the North America, she will no longer be able to share in the European location. That means also the content that she shared before in the US, when those external users show up to access the document, they will get access denied because the content is in Europe now. Okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, all good stuff. Great to see.
Thank you. Yeah.
Should we expect when this goes GA for SharePoint and OneDrive that these capabilities will be included in the licenses we have, or will they probably be some add-on
Samir.
cost for that?
It's a great question, licensing question. So Samir is our marketing folks, and basically, so the short answer is we are still figuring it out, what the licensing and commercial aspects for this multi-geo is. So as we are getting ready for general availability, we will share with you what that licensing aspects are. We don't have a specific answer right now that we can share with you, yeah? Okay, thank you, go ahead.
Hopefully a very simple question. It just is, do I have to have a vNext tenant for this or a multi-tenant?
No, it's all multi-tenant. Any tenant, yeah.
Any tenant, okay.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the one all I showed you is all multi-tenant, SharePoint.com.
Okay. Well, I have a vNext tenant. That's why I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to...
So if you have a vNext, all your satellites will be empty tenant, the one I showed you, SharePoint.com URLs. So you can, let's say you have a vNext in Europe today, and you want to add Australia as a satellite or US as a satellite, you will be able to add it as an empty satellite. So you will pick a URL, whatever your company name is, nam.sharepoint.com, and that's what you will get in those empty satellites.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, yeah. I'll go there, yeah, please.
In a SharePoint site collection that has custom code, so custom like add-ins, or more specifically like provider hosted.
I'm actually not getting, can you speak up a little bit or?
Okay, so where there are add-ins, like provider hosted apps deployed, targeting the SharePoint site, would those be migrated or replicated as well?
Oh, so you're talking about the SharePoint sites move. How do you move? Will there be a support for moving a site from one geo to the other geo? Is that what you're?
That has provider hosted apps.
Sorry, I didn't quite get the question. So maybe it will be helpful to, yes. Let me just, can you talk to you offline if you don't mind? I'll finish those questions, yeah? If you don't mind. So go ahead, what is the question?
Provider-hosted apps.
Oh, provider-hosted apps. Yeah.
Do those get replicated as well?
No. So the question was, will the provider-hosted apps that are connected to a sites, will they get replicated to other geos? The answer is no. Each geo, you need to manage provider-hosted apps independently. That's the SharePoint Admin Center where you can manage those apps independently for each geo. Okay? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question's around network routing.
Network routing?
Yeah,
okay.
So as far as, is all the traffic routed through your primary tenant?
No, not at all.
Okay.
If you are, in fact, the demo that I showed you, I logged in as a European user, Melissa. It actually went directly to the European data center endpoint. And that's the reason why we have addressable namespace for each geo. So if a user tries to go to the European location, it goes directly to that. It doesn't go to US and then go Europe, doesn't go to US and then Australia, not at all.
Okay, so
it goes directly. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good question, yeah. So I'll take the last one there, yeah.
Okay. So if we have,
I'll come to you again. Go ahead.
If we have users' PDLs set, will their SharePoint site move that PowerShell you showed, the SPO user and content move? Does that have to get run manually, or will a cycle come through and check against PDLs and move users?
It has to be initiated explicitly by the admin because it's the content we are moving, right? So that's why we need an explicit action from the admin to trigger that PowerShell commandlet. It's not enough to just change the PDL, the data location attribute in the Azure AD. You need to run that commandlet explicitly. In fact, we actually audit who run the commandlet and when did they run it, which user they are moving, because it goes back to data residency principle, right? We need to have those audits so that you know if something wrong happened, you can go back and check it out. Yeah.
Is there a way to report on PDLs versus locations so that we can say, okay, this PDL got set accordingly, but the user never got moved accordingly?
Yeah, so we are working on reporting related experiences there, definitely. So by the time we go to general availability, we will have some reporting for you so you can see where the user's resources are located versus where the user's actual data location that you sent. If there are discrepancies, you can see them. So we'll have a reporting for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. First off, really great innovation. A question around the user profile service and European privacy policies. Did I understand it correctly that the user profile properties, additional properties, are actually still stored in the home location? So
yes. So if you have additional properties on the user profile for a given user, they are only kept in the home geo of the user, right? So if you are Melissa is a European user, you have additional properties, it's kept only in the European UPA. if you are moving her from Europe to US, and at that point, those properties will get moved along with her. Make sense? The basic properties, like UPN, email address, those information will be available everywhere, because that's how you do the authentication, being able to share and things like that. Yeah?
I'm asking because some of the European Privacy Works Council is concerned about the additional information about users leaving the data sovereignty region. Is that something you're considering on changing that in the future, or is...
Well, so UPA additional schema, you need to add those additional schemas. So let's say you have a European citizenship ID. That's a new schema that you added, and you can choose to add them only in the European UPA. You don't have to add them in US and other locations, right? So that way, only in Europe, that schema is there, you set the property. Even if you move the user to US, that property will be left behind in Europe. It won't go along with the user. Make sense?
Okay, then I understand.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome, yeah. Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Excellent work. One question with regards to search. So, you know, there's the classical search experience within SharePoint Online, and do you also have this kind of merge search result list in there, or is the multi-geo capability only in the Office Home search?
So the search results by default is merged regardless of which experience you are using, like SharePoint Home or Enterprise Search Center or in the Delve, doesn't matter. Behind the scene, it is actually merged, and that's how you're seeing a simple experience for the end user. So if I go to the Enterprise Search Center, then I would see the same aggregated results there as well.
That's awesome.
I
got a second question. So with regards to the graph, so does the multi-geo also capture signals from other locations if I work with a team in the US and I'm in Europe?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I showed in the demo, right?
Yeah.
In the Delve experience that I showed you, it actually grabs signals from other geolocations that are basically it's trending around you in your enterprise. Doesn't matter where the signal is, whether it is in Europe or North America, it will be able to pick up the signal and show you in your experience in the graph. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, yes, the GeoMove, is that available today for preview customers?
GeoMove?
Yes.
It's actually just going to be released in the next 2 weeks for the initial preview customers.
Okay,
yes.
we're waiting for that. So
yes.
Within 2 weeks?
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
Great.
Thank you, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Sesha, sorry, it's me again. When you were doing a demo of your OneDrive, there was a folder and a file that had an icon that looked like an inverted Yammer icon.
Okay.
I
don't know.
was curious about what that might be.
Well, so the one I have set up is the on-premises sync as well. On-premises search results are available in the...
But that was your OneDrive, though.
You're talking about the specific to OneDrive?
Like,
I'll take a look and I'll tell you more. I don't know exactly what the specific one is. Yeah? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
How are you expecting this to be licensed?
Yeah, so I just answered that question before. So we don't have specific details right now on how the licensing will work, the commercial aspects of this feature. We are working on it. By the time we go to general availability, we will have that clarity on what that details are. Okay? Thank you. Yeah.
I had to step out, so I hope this isn't a redundant question here.
No, that's okay, no problem.
But when you did the move and you said that the user has a read-only view of their files, do they have a message of some sort that lets them know? Okay,
yes.
perfect.
So because it was happening so quick, by the time I get to that screen, the move is already complete. So when I hit a refresh, it just redirected me. But if you take a while, it will actually show you the message saying, your admin has triggered the move for your content is in read-only. It will show that the blue yellow bar message. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.